everything not applicable, not applicable, not applicable, and I got down to the place where it said occupation. And I knew I had to put something, so I put hunter-gatherer. And you know that's why Minkai got a visa, because somebody back there in the back is saying, look at this application, get a look at this, there's nothing on here except for one name and occupation, hunter-gatherer. And the consul at the U.S. Embassy in Ecuador was walking through the consulate then, and he said, what's that? He went over and looked at it, and he said, hey, I'll do this interview. I mean, we were number gazillionth and 4. We weren't going to, I mean, we shouldn't have even had an interview for 4 days, and we had 1 day in Quito. We had 5 hours to get a visa. We didn't even have a passport yet to put the visa in, but I knew that it wasn't going to work, but I had promised 2 of our kids that I would try to bring Minkai up for Jesse's graduation. So I figured, let's go get turned down the easiest way possible. So I thought the U.S. Embassy, they'll turn us down right away. And this fellow was looking at this, and he said, you know, when I was in the Peace Corps here years ago, I read a story about some missionaries that were killed by some Indians down in the jungle. And he said, and I knew, you know what's coming next. I wonder why they killed those missionaries. Something like that. It was always about the missionaries. But he said, I've always wondered what happened to those Indians that killed the missionaries. And I said, well, one of them is looking at you through the bulletproof glass. And then as soon as I said that, I remembered it said, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And I had put no. Because he's never been convicted, right? We have no courts down where we live. And this fellow said, wait a minute, I remember that story, and one of those missionaries had your same last name. And I said, yes, sir, that would have been my father's name. And then this consul looked at me and he said, why would you want to be taking one of the men who killed your father to the States? Like, are you thinking about getting even? And I said, well, we're family. And my youngest son is graduating from high school, and he'd like grandfather to come to his graduation. And the consul said, well, this is going to be pretty unusual, because we normally, you know, we want to make sure that people are coming back here. And he said, I'll tell you what, if you'll come back when the consulate closes this afternoon, I will give him a 1-entry visa into the U.S. on the condition that he travels with you. Like, how else is Minkai going to go? He would have stayed on the plane. When he found out they had a cooking place and a bathroom on the plane, he thought, why don't we just live here? God works in mysterious ways. 5 hours. The last thing that the consul said to me was, but where's his passport? I said, we'll try to remember to bring it this afternoon. And then I thought, oh, Lord, now what are we going to do? We've got 5 hours to be back here when they close, and we don't even have a passport. We don't have military papers. We don't have voter exoneration, because in Ecuador, you lose your citizenship unless you vote in every election. Minkai lives out in the jungles. He can't read the slate. He doesn't know what an election is. He doesn't know what an authority is. He has no concept of those things, and there's no place in his whole world where he can go vote. He would have to get somebody to come with an airplane, take him someplace, and then if he's not registered, because he's never been registered, I mean, he doesn't have a birth certificate or anything. He knows which river he was born on, but he doesn't have any idea what year. And you know what? In 5 hours, we had a passport with his military papers, and I could go on and tell you the story, but enough to say that Minkai came up here with at Jesse's graduation. I was going to speak at a couple of places while he was up here, and I thought, why don't we make a road trip? So Jesse and Minkai and Pimenta, a contemporary of mine from the tribe, and I made a road trip, and you know, we've spoken here in the U.S. on tours, probably 10 times, Canada 5 times, Europe twice, and I'll show you a video a little bit later. We went to India, where Minkai helped train some Indian pastors how to do dentistry, but don't take that off my time, because I wasn't going to tell any of that. You know,